What's going on, everyone? This is Erik from Full Mind MMA, and today I am joined once again by UFC lightweight Dan Hooker, just over a week out from his pretty massive fight against Michael Chandler at UFC 257. Dan, how are you?
No, I'm good. We arrived here in Dubai yesterday morning. So I think I'm 24 hours into my 48-hour quarantine. So one more day, and then we're free on Fight Island.
It's pretty early over there right now. What time is it in Abu Dhabi?
I think it's about 4 a.m.
I thought you were still in New Zealand when we were emailing because it was so early for you.
Oh well,
Pretty
yeah,
early in the morning.
it's midday in New Zealand, so I'm still on New Zealand time.
I got you. That makes sense. How's the quarantine been? I know you were in the quarantine facility in New Zealand. It's a whole lot of quarantining that you have to do back and forth between Abu Dhabi and New Zealand. Is that correct?
Oh, it's pretty much all of it will be on the way back. I'm not too bothered about the 48-hour quarantine over here. Coming from New Zealand, we're lucky that we're pretty COVID free over there. So we're green light through pretty much all of the travel stops. But on the way back, it's a bit harder.
Yeah, that's going to be a different story. I know you're there for over a month after this fight with Chandler. But yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So you're going to be Michael Chandler's first UFC opponent. I just want to hear your thoughts about him as a fighter. I don't know if you ever thought you'd be matched up against him since he was in Bellator. And what did you think when you heard about him moving to the UFC?
Oh, I never thought that. I've known about him for a while. I've always seen Michael Chandler competing in Bellator. I've seen highlights, and I knew what he'd accomplished in that organization. So it's a name that I never thought I would. Sometimes you see names and you're like, man, I'm gonna fight that guy one day, and most of them turn out. But Michael Chandler wasn't one of those people. So I kind of look at it as a wild card, like it's a bit of a surprise that he came over to the UFC, and I get to be his welcoming party. That's yeah, it changes things up. I'm always up for something new, something exciting. But no, he's definitely a top tier lightweight in the world. So I'm excited to compete.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of MMA fans are super curious to see how this fight plays out, just the styles and everything. It should be an incredible fight. Did it annoy you at all watching him come into the UFC and he's getting a lot of press? He was the backup for the title fight before even fighting in the promotion. Like, did you feel maybe some of that was unearned, or was that kind of par for the course?
Oh, that's really when he sprung up on my radar, though. That's before that. I can't say I was even myself was that interested. I knew he was going to come over. I was excited to see how he would fare in the UFC. But once the UFC put him as a backup for the title, that's when pretty much anyone standing between me and that title is in my crosshairs. So they put him as a backup for a title. Um, that's a spot I want to be in. So I want to take that hype. I want to take everything, all that excitement around Michael Chandler, and take it for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And it should definitely be interesting to see how it plays out. I know you're someone you obviously watch a lot of film. I'm sure that you've studied him at this point. Um, what's impressed you that you've seen from his prior fights that he does particularly well?
Like just his intensity as he starts is probably the thing that separates him from a lot of other guys. Like he comes in very hard, comes in very fast. Um, yeah, it's a high risk, high reward scenario. Like he gets a lot of first round finishes, but he's also been stopped pretty early on. So yeah, I would say that a lot of guys that get to this point in their career kind of settle down a bit, if you would, but he still comes out fairly guns blazing. So I'm expecting a pretty fast start.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, all very, very excited for that fight. I don't think we can state that enough. Just an incredible card overall. You're going to be fighting right under McGregor Poirier. I know in the recent ESPN interview that you did, you said you didn't actually have a pick for that fight. It was pretty up in the air. Has that changed at all, or are you still pretty even between McGregor and Poirier?
I just like, to be honest, it's just how they match up. They just match up. They they just fit perfectly. Like Connor starts fast, but Poirier has one of the best gas tanks, and he's so durable at this stage of his career. So yeah, they just match up so well. Like if Poirier can weather that early storm in that first round, first 1.5 rounds, I think in a 5 round fight, he'll kind of take over as the fight progresses, you know. So it'll be, yeah, pretty similar to my own fight. It'll be, I feel like we're gonna know the outcome of the fight within that first 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. The title, of course, is a bit held up in your division right now. Khabib had just retired, it seemed. I know Dana White's trying to get him back. You said that you would support if they did a title between McGregor and Poirier. Do you think that Khabib is really retired? Do you think that we'll actually never see him in the cage again? What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of strikes me as a man of his word. So if he was, I feel like it's not like some of the other guys retiring. It's not like Henry Cejudo retiring. It's not like John Jones like stepping away from his belt. To me, those are more like Henry Cejudo especially was just more of like a bargaining play. You know, it's just he's trying to get a bit more. He's trying to get a bit of a better contract, so he's using it as a negotiating ploy. To me, I don't think that Khabib's using it as a negotiating ploy. I feel like if he ever really gets that itch back or that hunger back to compete, um, then we could see him come back. But he seems to me like a pretty serious guy, and he was pretty serious in that post fight.
Yeah, he was. I also wanted to ask you about your last fight against Dustin Poirier. Obviously, still an incredibly relevant outcome. You said you weren't real happy with that fight. I mean, it was fight of the year. I'm sure it was different for us watching as it was for you being in there, of course. But you said that you were pretty unhappy with how you fought in that fight. Just with that in mind, have you changed or maybe done anything differently in hopes of, changing that around so that doesn't happen in this fight?
Yeah, yeah. I have like you just have to be very honest with yourself on reflection of a fight, win or lose. You know, you got to be real honest with what mistakes you made in that fight. Yeah, I let my temper get the better of me. I let and then going there and watching my teammates and how well and how calculated and how smart they fought. You know, Alex Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, like they put on very clinical performances. You know, especially Volkanovski's performance in the first and second round with Holloway. Things weren't going his way, but he stuck to the game plan. He stayed very composed, um, and he managed to get the win and defend his belt. So he showed like a different level of class, and that's something that I'm have been working on and will try to emulate in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. Changing gears here again. Last time we spoke, I believe it was about September. You had just launched the Dan Hooker podcast, to bring some light to the New Zealand MMA scene. As we said last time, incredible production value for those of you that haven't checked it out. Make sure to go check it out. Is that something that you plan on returning to after this fight camp? I know you took a little bit of a break, understandably, for this big fight. Are you going to get back? Do you have big plans with that in the future?
Yeah, no, I like it. I love doing it. Especially just highlighting like the local scene in New Zealand and Australia and what's going on in our region is something that really interests me on the local level. So I'll definitely get back into that after this fight. But yeah, I did. People were asking me about it, like where's it gone? Where's it gone? And I was still didn't have my fight announced for another 6 weeks. So I had 6 weeks of 6 weeks where I wasn't doing the podcast and people were asking me questions. But then once the fight rumors all started coming out, I think everyone understood that I stepped away from it to really focus on this fight.
Yeah, certainly. I'm sure it was a lot easier to explain once that news came out. Finally wrapping things up here, you had the opportunity to fight on the first pay-per-view, 2021. It's a big one. You had a pretty big year last year as well. Where do you want to be at the end of 2021 when this year wraps up? What's your goal? Where do you hope you are?
I feel like with the win over Michael Chandler, that puts me back in the title conversation, and potentially one another fight away from fighting for the title. You know, this gets me back in the mix. This gets me back in the win streak, back in the conversation, and another win sets me up for a shot at the belt.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it play out. Before I let you go, as always, I'd love to give you the floor. If you have any shout outs, some teammates, sponsors, any personal ventures, feel free, give them a shout out.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, Erik. I appreciate it. Yeah, once I get back to New Zealand, I will make sure you tune into the Dan Hooker podcast.
All right, for sure. We'll be sure to link that below, as well as your Twitter and other social media. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me again, Dan. If you guys like this content, be sure to subscribe. Again, follow Dan on everything we link below. But yeah, can't wait to see you fight just over a week.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hey guys, it's Erik from Full Mount MMA. Check out some of our other videos, and if you like that content, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss an update.